Welcome to Perryville, as we're going to talk some playoff football here. Glad to have you along, and we've been trying to do this now for a week, and we're going to get 30 minutes of playoff talk. You got Duran Miller here on my left side. You got Carson Ward on my right side here, as we just bring you a little bit of a playoff football talk. We're excited to be here. It's a great time here at ASN because we are at our first round playoff game. We've got Atkins at Perryville. If you want to tune in tonight, make sure that you tune in with us. We're going to try to talk a little bit about each classification. We're going to run through this pretty quick. He's got to go. We might be able to. We got Allen in there. We might be able to.
Conway Christian over here, so he's got to get to Conway here about 5:30.
Conway Christian, Hazen tonight. That's going to be a fun one there at Conway Christian. So, with that being said, let's just get right into it here. We got the 2A playoff bracket going up on the screen right now. And
everyone
you can
tells
see
you
at
to
the top
think
of the
about
bracket, you got Murfreesboro, Mark Tree, Bearden, Mount Ida on the left-hand side, EPC and Gurdon, and Bigelow and Poen. On the right-hand side, you've got your Conway Christian Eagles, Hazen, the Hazen Hornets tonight, Des Arc and Mineral Springs, Carlisle and Hector, Cross County and Junction City. We're going to try to highlight the games that we feel like are going to be the closest tonight. So let's get started right now. Let's talk about Bigelow and Poen.
Yeah, Bigelow's a team that I got to see firsthand last week. They are not as disciplined as they were last season, but when you come off a state championship and an undefeated season, it's hard to stay on that level. You look at what Coach Starks has done there. This is his first season as head coach. He hasn't won a conference championship. When you look at Poen on the other side, they like to air it out, and Colt Barrett's their quarterback, and he's all of 6'6" and got a rocket arm. I got to see him play last season in the playoffs when the Eagles played the Poen Indians. I'm gonna say this game is probably close. I would say could be high scoring if Poen can't stop the run. I'm gonna say that probably Bigelow wins this one. I'm gonna say 35-28.
Defending state champions, experience on their side, playing well up until last week. I like Bigelow in this one myself.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Bigelow, and I'm going to go a little bit wider margin. I'm going to say 28-17.
Again, we're going to run through these quick, so just stay with us here as we talk a little bit about it. Cross County and Junction City, big game tonight, and in Cross County. I mean, you're talking about a team with Junction City that you didn't think would be on the road really ever. But even through the first round of the playoffs, definitely didn't think that. Basically a unanimous number one throughout the state of Arkansas in 2A to start the season after moving down from 3A. Cross County is a team that you feel like they can make a move here in these playoffs if they can kind of put it all together.
Right. Yeah. You look at Coach Van Pascal at Cross County. This is his first season at the helm there, and he's been able to implement a lot of what he's wanted to do so far. They've got a lot of really talented players. They run that option offense. They're a very physical team. Junction City struggled a little bit with that in a Murfreesboro that's very kind of the same way. They're physical. They want to run the ball really well and play good defense. I like Junction City, though, in this one. I think that they're just too athletically gifted, and I think that they've got – if Dominic Grimes is playing, he didn't play last week against Spring Hill, whether they were just sitting him out because their seating was set or whether he was injured, I'm not sure. But he didn't play last week. If he plays this week, I think Junction City will win probably by 7 to 10 points. If he doesn't play, Cross County wins this one by 3 to 7 points.
Distance a factor in this one. I know that the team that travels the farthest doesn't always lose, but when you think about how far that Junction City has to travel for this one, there's several games throughout these playoffs that are huge distances, pretty crazy. What do you think about this one, Alan?
Or Duran.
I'm sorry, Duran. I apologize.
You're good.
Alan just sent me a message on my phone. I apologize.
Cross County, I think, is in the most deepest conference this year in 2A, so I think they're battle tested a little bit. I think that's what makes this, even though they're a 3 going up against a 2, I think that makes it a tough game at Junction City. But I still think Junction City does have the athletes. Coach Ball got a lot of weapons to use, and I think they're going to get it done. But I do think it's going to be a close one because Cross County has been formidable this year at times and played a really tough conference. So I'm going to go 31-28 for the Dragons.
That 2A2 conference is a conference that has been what we think is the best conference in 2A.
Deepest for sure.
And coming out of that one, Des Arc tonight as a 2 seed playing Mineral Springs. For the whole year, you really felt like Des Arc was kind of the team in that conference. They fell to EPC. EPC's the number 1 seed out of that conference. We think that they've got a great shot at winning that game against Gurdon tonight. But Des Arc and Mineral Springs is a team that's playing better and a team that could give Des Arc a little bit of a run for their money tonight.
Yeah, so just a quick thing to mention EPC. They look like they could be the favorites to win that other side of the bracket. They got a very favorable draw. Going back, though, to Des Arc and Mineral Springs, you look at Mineral Springs, they get a crucial victory over Murfreesboro last week, who was the heavy favorites to finish that conference undefeated. Mineral Springs pulls off the upset. They got some momentum heading into this game. However, Des Arc's a very fundamentally sound team. They're very physical. Coach Barbary knows what he's doing. He's been installing that flexbone offense there really well. Hudson Goodman's a talented quarterback, big physical guy, and then Davion Bell is going to add some elusiveness and some speed in the backfield as well. And you got Jamie Collins, who's that fullback, and Gabe Berry, if he's back. Not 100% sure whether he's back or not, but if he's back, that's going to add a whole other dimension to that offense as well. I think Des Arc wins this one by 14.
I'm big on Des Arc as well, pretty bullish on them. In fact, I think that Conway Christian Des Arc matchup next week is very interesting if it happens. What do you got?
So he hit on what I was going to talk about with Collins. We talked about that a little bit last night on one of our shows we were doing. Collins stepped in when we did that game earlier this year against Mark Tree for the injured Gabe Berry and played some big minutes. And I think he brings a little more speed, not quite as big, but he's really helped that offense. And I do think they're going to be too physical in this one for Mineral Springs.
I'm going to go ahead and give my pick. Y'all can do it if you want to as far as who's going to play in the state title game. I'm going to go with Carlisle in 2A, and I'm going to go with Murfreesboro. I think they got a chance to play that home game against EPC. We'll see how it goes. I think that's going to be an interesting matchup. You guys want to – anything y'all want to give it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I like Conway Christian. I've seen them all year. I feel like that's not surprising to anybody.
Right.
But I think that what's going to put them over the edge in the semifinals is they play at home against Conway Christian. I think that – or against Carlisle, excuse me. That's what's going to put them over the edge. Carlisle also hasn't seen DBs like Conway Christian has all season, and they've been able to throw the ball as well as they want. Might be a little bit overconfident. On the other side of the bracket, I like Mount Ida a lot. I think they could be an upset pick, but I do think that at the end of the day, EPC will be the one to come out.
So you got Conway Christian, EPC. Who do you got?
It's a tough pick there. I'm going to give it to Carlisle just barely over Conway Christian. I do think either one of them, it's kind of a flip of a coin. I think what he was saying about the DBs, they haven't really seen that much athleticism in the backs secondary there will play a role. I do like Conway Christian's quarterback. So athletic, very long. He's gonna make some plays when they get in a tough situation to kind of keep them going and moving the sticks. And I think that's going to be really tough for Carlisle to overcome. But I do think Carlisle gets it done just barely. So I've got them. The other side, it's really EPC's got a tough route. They got to take down some pretty good teams on the way, but I think I'm going to go ahead and go with them. Mount Ida and them, I think, will probably play in that semi, and I do think EPC is going to get it done coming out of that top conference.
All right, let's move on to 3A real quick here. 3A, we believe, is the most competitive of the playoff brackets. I mean, really, when you get down to it, after this round, you've got probably 10 of the 16 teams that could win the whole thing. And the one that stands out, I should say, the most is Bismarck because they're on top of the bracket. First time that they've been 10-0 since the 1980s. They're our number one team in 3A. They got the bye. They play the winner of the game that we're at right now, which we'll have tonight, Atkins and Perryville. I'm not going to make a pick in this one. Duran, you can make a pick if you'd like, but I'm going to go. Well, you may not because you're a Dover guy. So I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But with that being said, tonight we've got Atkins and Perryville. It's a big one tonight here. The thing that stuck out to me, one of the reasons why we came to this ball game was because this game was a week 0 game. This was a game that was a 1-point game in week 0, and then you've got the whole aspect of the rivalry behind it. This is going to be a fun game tonight. Atkins didn't get the benefit on the tiebreak. If you look at how it fell for them, they beat Mayflower last week in overtime, still ended up in the 4th seed. I think they had a 4-way tie at 5-2 in the league, and they finished 4th in the league because of tiebreak. So it didn't fall very well for them, but I think that they get a decent draw here because they've already beaten Perryville one time.
Yeah, my take on this game is if you'd asked me 4 weeks ago, I'd have probably said I think Atkins has got it coming off of that Salem win, had a lot of momentum. And then they dropped one to Melbourne, and they dropped one to who was the other one? We were talking about that last night. It always escapes me.
Quitman.
Quitman. That's right. Quitman was the one that was kind of. I didn't see that one coming, and I thought they had so much momentum at that point that they would go ahead and finish out conference on top. And but that big win against Mayflower kind of got some things going again for them. I think that's a big pickup. Perryville on the other side. Lost that game earlier this year by 1, but this one being at Perryville is going to make it tough. This game, I think, could go either way. I think I picked it last night in a video we were making as a 1-point game again. So since I'm helping call the game tonight, I'm not gonna tell you which way, but I think this is going to come down to whoever has the ball last, basically.
Yeah, I really like Perryville, and I think that Coach Fairbanks here, he's got a good group, and this is a group that they've been excited about here at Perryville for some time. Both of these teams don't come from the strongest conferences, if we're being honest, but you look at the earlier matchup they had in Week 0. It's going to be an exciting game. Would be surprised if anybody ended up running away with it. I like Perryville in this game by probably 3 points, I'd say.
It's going to be a good one here. I'm going to get this shared out to Facebook while we're talking about this. Man, we're excited about being here because I think it's going to be a fun one. This is playoff football, so it's obviously going to be fun. Let's move on down the line here. We've got Melbourne and Charleston as a game that sticks out to me. We're skipping Osceola and Center Point. You know, Osceola is a team that I feel like can really make some noise in the playoffs here. So I think they've got a chance to win that ball game pretty easily. But Charleston and Melbourne is a game that's kind of like this one, kind of a toss-up. The one thing that you look at Charleston, if you look at their losses, basically go down the line. Ozark, they lost to Boonville. They lost to Mansfield and Pottsville. And they were all 3-point losses.
Wow.
All of them was, yeah. So they've lost by a combined 12 points throughout the year. They're 6-4 on the year, but they gave Boonville trouble. They gave Mansfield trouble. I like them at home against Melbourne.
I'll go first, I guess, on this one. I agree. I think you're right on point there. Melbourne's been a really good team. They were able to take down Atkins earlier this year. But Charleston, they just play a brand of football that's really tough. And I think Melbourne's kind of cut from that same cloth a little bit. But I like the Tigers barely in this one, but I do like them. I'm going to go with 6-point win for Charleston.
Yeah, I like Charleston as well. Coach Ricky May is a really, really talented coach. Yeah, Boonville guy coaching at Charleston, interestingly enough.
Right. And
he's got a quarterback there named Carter Little who's putting up big numbers this year. I like the Charleston Tigers in this game as well. I'm going to say they win by 7.
Very, very good game over there.
Upper.
Right?
6.
Very, very good game over there in Franklin County. Just going down the line here, looking at the bracket.
3A, we could literally spend 2 hours on just this playoff.
Newport and McGee is another one that you look at and you think that's going to be a good ball game. Mm-hmm. Athletes all over the field. I haven't seen Newport firsthand. This is what I'll say about Newport. The way they played against Rivercrest, the way they played against Osceola, those were teams that are at the top of the heap when it comes to 3A. I think that Newport is a team right now that if you look at where they're at in the draw, they could come out of that part and play in the semifinals. It's very possible that they do that. I like them tonight against McGee. McGee is athletic. Do you get the McGee that beat DeWitt, or do you get the McGee that didn't look so hot against Fordyce? We'll find out.
So I think Newport's a little bit more offensive than they are defensive. They've got a lot of high scores, even with Rivercrest and Osceola. They got in the 40-some. I think Osceola was a little bit in the 20s, but I think the one with Rivercrest was in the 20s. I think it was 28-20 if I remember right. Anyways, McGee is defensive. DeWitt kind of that same way, and they were able to hold DeWitt and have a really good game that night. McGee's got some size. They're physical, but I think Newport has enough firepower to get past them in this one. I'm going to go 38-28 in favor of the Greyhounds.
Yeah, I like Newport here as well. McGee is a very storied program. They've got a lot of history over there. And Newport's kind of they've got a lot of talent in the offseason to come over there, especially if you count the receiver, Monty Wren, who came back from Greenwood in a surprising move. And they've got Tonio Phillips, Keandre Baker. They've got Amani Wren. So they've got all these talented players. Can they put it all together? That's been the question this season. If they do, they've got a chance to really have unlimited potential. They can reach the semifinals or maybe get to the state title game if they really are working really well right now. I'm going to pick them to win in this game by 14.
So I'm just going to give you a couple things here. Next round, again, you got to win these ball games to get there. But think about these matchups here. Bismarck, the winner of this game, Perryville or Atkins. Looks like Osceola and Charleston could match up next round. Also, you've got Fordyce, Jesseville could match up. That's, as far as wins-wise, a pretty decent matchup there. Boonville and Mayflower could match up in next round. Risen and Rivercrest could match up in the next round.
I think that's going to
Prescott and Salem could match up in the next round. Newport and Mansfield could match up in the next round. And Harmony Grove and Glen Rose could match up in the next round. I mean, that is a heck of a night of football in the 3A.
Yeah, and Salem and Prescott would be a rematch.
It
And
would
was
be.
a great game. I've got that one circled as a Big Tom one. Just a lot of very, very good football. And like we said, 3A just we were breaking it down, and, man, it just so many good matchups. And you could really pick 10 teams that could be in a state championship, but you could pick about 4 or 5 that you really feel could win it and feel fine saying that.
Well, let's go with our picks real quick. I'm going to go in the 3A.
Tough.
I'm going with Osceola and Rivercrest to match up in the final as a rematch. 2A or 3A3, I should say. Very tough conference. They played each other already, but there are so many scenarios here that it's just unbelievable, as he said.
I like the Red Bugs of Fordyce to win it all this season. I think they are going to end up maybe, I like Newport a lot, especially if they can put it all together. So, you know what, I'm going to pick another one of an upset kind of pick. I'm going to say Newport and Fordyce in the state championship game. But I think Fordyce, the momentum is going to be really big. And I think that Fordyce probably wins that one by 10 to 14 points.
I've been high on Fordyce all year to start the year. Really like what they're doing down there. Last night we were talking about this one over a little bit, and I had I really love Bismarck as well. They've just really, every time we watch them, they play harder than you expect, and got a lot of talent. And I end up having Bismarck losing to Osceola, and I have Osceola taking down Fordyce in the semis, and that was like, I'm not really doing this, and I am. It's just the way I had to work it out. It's kind of like when you do your March Madness bracket, there's always like, no, Kansas? I end up with Kansas in there? You know how that works. But so anyways, I've got Rivercrest and Osceola in the final, and I've got Osceola winning it all.
All right, so you and I, same picks.
Yes.
I did go with Rivercrest. I did think that they could go ahead and championship experience. They've already, they've got that, the little chip on their shoulder from losing that one earlier.
I think I did do that, didn't I?
What?
Didn't I pick Rivercrest last night when we went over some playoff scenarios? I think I did as well, actually. That's crazy.
Well, there you go.
So, but that one could be either team.
Well, you got 10
So
teams.
good.
You got 10 teams in the 3A that could
We
move
didn't even
on.
talk about Mansfield.
Right.
I mean,
Mansfield's unreal.
Good grief.
And,
Or Prescott.
well, let's move on to the 4A because we could spend
Yeah.
an hour on 3A for sure. Moving on to 4A here, you've got at the top of the bracket the Dardanelle Sand Lizards. I don't think enough people are talking about Dardanelle right now. They've got a chance to move out, I believe, just the way it looks on this bracket here. Looking at the ball games right now, DeWitt and Gentry is one that really sticks out to me. Gentry is a team that nobody's talking about a lot. They're in the 4A1. The 4A1 is probably a little bit undervalued this year with Elkins and Gravett and Gentry and Prairie Grove, those top 4. It falls off after that, but that top 4 is really, really tough. I mean, you think about Prairie Grove falling from 5A, and they fall into the 4 seed in that conference. So that's a really hard conference here. DeWitt is a team that is coached by one of the coaches I think is really good throughout the state, Tommy Cody. He does a fantastic job. Wherever he's at, he was at Atkins, as we're here again tonight with Atkins. He kind of resurrected that program there.
Oh, yeah.
And now, he's got DeWitt, which a lot of people, if you talk to people in South Arkansas, they're like, DeWitt, they don't ever win anything.
Yeah.
So they've got some ball players down there. Corey Graham is a guy that sticks out right off the bat when you talk about them. We saw them earlier this year. They're a very tough ball team. I mean, I think they caught the best from Star City. I think they took the wind out of Star City's sails after that ball game.
They did.
I like DeWitt in this one. The reason I like DeWitt in this one is 308 miles separate the two, and I feel like as you travel that far, it's a disadvantage. It's a major disadvantage for them. So I'm going to go with DeWitt in this one.
I like DeWitt as well. I think that what Coach Cody does, when we saw them play against Star City, he threw so many different formations at the Bulldogs in that game, and he could slip Corey Graham through just about any of them, and you didn't know where he was going to be. So with the complicated offense that they run and how DeWitt has really adjusted to it, and they run it super well, especially now that we've progressed into the season, just they're going to have it down. I like DeWitt in this one as well.
I do think Gentry's a good ball club. I do think they come out of a very tough that conference that Elkins is in. Nobody talks about enough. The very top half of it is very good, with Gentry, Gravett, Elkins. Gravett's the only team that really gave Elkins any trouble this year, and then you got Prairie Grove, who's only not made the playoffs one time in like 34 years. I mean, Coach Absher there has just done a phenomenal job, but DeWitt, I think, has just enough firepower with Corey Graham. Their quarterback, can y'all think of his name? It's escaping me.
Gosh,
I can't either. He's phenomenal, and he plays safety on defense. He made some big plays in that game that kept them in it to help knock off Star City when we had that as our game of the week. I'm going with the Dragons in a close one, but I say close. I think they're going to go ahead and pull it out, Bob. I'll give them 14.
Well, I'm down through the line here, these games are a little more cut and dried, in my opinion, than what the 3A games or even the 2A games are. But let's talk about Nashville and Pocahontas real quick. Pocahontas is another team that not a lot of people are talking about, playing tough up there in the Northeast Conference up there. Yeah. They finished the 3 seed. They played Highland very hard. We saw Highland a couple weeks back. Highland's not a bad team.
No.
They're really not a bad
program.
team. Highland beat them 14-7. Highland finished 9-1. The only loss, 8-1. They had one game canceled due to a death in the school. But
only lost Southside.
They only lost to Southside throughout the state, and so they're a very good team. They gave them all they want. I'm telling you right now, Nashville's going to have their hands full tonight there with Pocahontas. I think Nashville's probably got the edge just by a little bit, but don't be surprised if Pocahontas comes through and pulls the upset.
Yeah, not a typical Nashville team. They're 6-4, but they do play a very tough conference with you've got Arkadelphia and all of them. Malvern, just very tough. So if you get the 3 or 4 out of that conference, you're doing pretty good. Of course, when you talk to Nashville, they don't accept that, because they expect to be number 1 every year. That's just what it is there. That's the bar. But it's going to be a tough game with the Redskins. I think Nashville gets it done, but it's going to be close. So I'm giving them a 6-point win.
Yeah, I like Nashville as well. I got a new head coach over there, and they're going to be playing with a lot of pride, as they always do over in Nashville. And I like Nashville in this game as well. I think it'll be close and down to the wire, and Pocahontas has some good things going, but I think Nashville and the Scrappers pull this one out.
Possible second-round matchups. Again, got to play the game. It won't play out this way, obviously, because we're just talking about it, so it won't happen. Dardanelle and Prairie Grove, very good possibility for a matchup there. Those two were conference foes last year. Arkadelphia DeWitt, that would be a fun one. Looking at, or Gentry, for that matter, they would be a very good one. Southside and Heber Springs is a possibility. Monticello and Gravett, that would be a fun one there at Monticello, I believe, which would be another long trip.
He don't want you to sleep on Forest City.
Okay.
I like Forest City. I do.
And,
yeah. Okay.
They've come around a little bit this year. He had them as an upset with Monticello when we talked last.
So Highland and possibly Malvern. What's that Pottsville team there? They're not.
Pottsville's got to.
They're not bad.
Have their best night though to beat this Malvern team. But they've got the skill. They got the players. This is their year, really.
Right.
If they put it all together and play perfect 4 quarters, they can upset Malvern or not. But I do have Malvern winning that one.
Elkins Mina. You got the Nashville Nashville Pocahontas winner versus Warren, and then Clinton and Mills. Very possibly those are second round matchups. In 4A, I am going to go ahead. I'm going to give you. I like Dardanelle to come out of the top side of that bracket, and I like Elkins to come out of the bottom. I will say that Elkins could have a return trip or a rematch versus Warren, and they have to go to Warren to do that. That would be a tough one. I have said that Elkins is the best team in the state in 4A throughout the year. I feel like if they play their best, there's nobody that can beat them. Elkins and Dardanelle played each other earlier this year. Elkins beat them 51-0, but I think that if they matched up in Little Rock, it'd be a lot closer.
And I found this out. Guess what? Elkins beat Prairie Grove by.
52-0.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
I know, 1 point difference.
now
'Cause
look,
I was shocked at that.
The one team that gave them trouble this year was Gravett.
Yeah.
Gravett was in it in the fourth quarter. They had the ball down 7 in the fourth quarter. The
Was that
one
game
team.
at Gravett? It was at Elkins.
It was at Elkins.
That's right.
It was at Elkins.
My picks on this one are, did you give you got Elkins, right?
I got Elkins
Okay.
to win it. Yeah.
All right. I've got Dardanelle and Gravett in the semis. That's going to be such a big matchup. It could go either way. I'm giving Dardanelle the edge. They played like a different team since they got thumped by Elkins. I do think that'll be different this time, obviously, when they get to the championship. And then on the other side, I've got Warren and I've got Elkins meeting up, and I'm going to give it to Elkins, even though I think Warren, more time with Cam Burks, and that situation was kind of tough when they played in the ASN Classic that we featured earlier this year. But I think Elkins still too much. I'm going to give them like a 44-27 top victory in that game. Against Dardanelle, I think they're going to tighten it up. It's not going to be 51-0 like it was, but I still think Elkins probably comes out ahead by 20.
It'll be interesting to see if it plays out like that, if Elkins can beat the two teams that they had to rematch with.
It's
I know
always tough to do.
They blew both of them out early, but this is a different game when you're talking about the playoffs. Just an interesting thing there. What do you think, Carson?
I like Dardanelle coming out of the left side of the bracket as we have it, and then on the right side I like Elkins. I think those are the two almost consensus picks at this point that people really, if you surveyed 100 people, that's probably get 90% of people that said.
And a lot of people think Mills will be the one taking on Elkins instead of Warren, and that very well could happen.
Right.
Don't sleep on Mills. They're a very good team. Number 3 in our polls or 2. They're 2 or 3 at the end of the regular season. And
Gosh, I just drew a blank.
Mills is number 2.
Yeah, Elkins, Mills, and then Dardanelle, right?
Dardanelle's down
No,
at
they're
6
not.
right
Yeah.
now. But the way the bracket plays
It's
out
Warren,
is,
I think, at
Warren
3.
is – so we've had – now we got to talk about it. So I got Elkins. We've got Mills. We got Southside, who's been steady all year long there, undefeated. Warren has been our 4th team, and the number 5 team has been
Southside.
Arkadelphia. Arkadelphia and Warren have not moved all year since the ASN Classic. And then the 6th team just jumping up there has been Dardanelle.
Right.
So Dardanelle jumped up there.
They're not going to jump Arkadelphia and Southside, those
Right.
teams, when they've been playing so well.
Right. So, but there's that top group, that top 6 is tough, really tough. And then you got who's 7? Who do we got 7 right now?
Pull that up. I've almost got it here. 7 is Gravett, and rightfully so. Malvern
Malvern,
just lost to Arkadelphia. They drop a little bit. Highland at 9, and Mina is at 10.
I mean, there's a lot of good teams there in the 4A as well. Carson's 5, almost 5:30. What do you think?
You want me to get Alan to jump in, or are we just going to call it?
Alan, you want to jump in and talk 5A, 6A? All right, we're going to bring Alan Russell in. Carson has got to go to Conley Christian, call that ball game tonight. So which way are you going, bub? There we go. I'm going to let Alan come in here and make me look like a shrimp.
How we doing, guys?
Too tall.
There he is.
Yeah, we went over 2A, 3A, 4A. We're going to get into 5A now.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk 5A real quick. On the left side of the bracket, got Valley View. I think Valley View has probably got their best team in years right now. Morrilton Searcy. That Morrilton Searcy game is an interesting one. We'll touch on that in a bit. Parkview win. Maumelle Greenbrier, another interesting matchup. Harding Academy, Camden Fairview, another interesting matchup. Farmington BB, Lakeside Nettleton, and Robinson Valonia. Let's talk a little bit about Morrilton and Searcy real quick. Morrilton is a team that was really way up in our rankings. They dropped the last 2, and somehow it was one of them things that the tiebreak kind of fell their way, and they ended up the number 2 seed. Got a decent draw here. They got Searcy here tonight. Morrilton and their quarterback, his name escapes me.
Barry.
Yeah.
Barry.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Maddox Barry went for 746 yards, 11 touchdowns. That's not a season, folks. That's not 3 games. That's 1 game.
Did you say his name was Adam Thrash?
Right? Maddox Barry,
Wow.
he broke almost every state record that you could break that night.
Insane.
Believe it or not, it's actually insane that he didn't break
There's,
all of them.
there's some schools that don't throw for 11 touchdowns in 3-year starters.
Absolutely. So
It
Morrilton,
really is,
Morrilton
yeah.
takes on Searcy tonight. Morrilton also has 4 stud wide receivers
Right.
that really are hard to match up with. They scored 75 on Farmington. They got beat somehow.
Yes.
You score 75
Farmington
points
wins
and
their
you got
first
beat.
outright.
But I feel like Morrilton can score on just about anybody. I
Yes.
like Morrilton in this matchup tonight.
Is that game? Go ahead.
Morrilton and Searcy, yeah.
It's at Morrilton.
Okay.
It's at Morrilton. They're the 2 out of that 5A West, and Searcy the 3 out of the 5A Central. I agree with you. I think Searcy's pretty tough, but I'm going to go with Morrilton by a high-scoring one. I'll say 45-35.
Yeah, I take Morrilton at home. Similar score than Duran there.
All right. Moving on down the line here, Maumelle and Greenbrier, those two hooking up. Another tough matchup. Maumelle and Valonia played each other earlier in the year. Talk about a similar team to Greenbrier. Maumelle beat them. I don't know if Maumelle's playing as well. I will say that, playing Robinson, that's a tough one to end the season on. I think Robinson basically had a mercy ruled there. And then they took their starters out, and I think Maumelle scored a little bit there at the end. Maumelle's still a pretty good team, though. Robinson, we've had them as our number 2 team in the state all year long, so I don't understand why we would pick against them. Maumelle tonight, I think Maumelle gets it tonight at home versus Greenbrier. I think a close game.
It's going. You want to go ahead? I went first last time, Alan. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think Maumelle at home. I take Maumelle by touchdown.
That's a tough one because before the season started, I mean, you'd heard about some of the guys that moved into Maumelle and
Right.
what they had coming back, and I thought, man, they were going to be kind of like, a team that would be in our top 4 probably
Right.
all year, and they've struggled off and on. Can't exactly put your finger on it, but they got enough talent. But Greenbrier, they're a really good ball club. It's hard to get a win against Greenbrier. They're going to fight you till the final whistle, I promise you that. So that one really is a tough pick for me. I'm going to give it to Maumelle begrudgingly a little bit because I think Greenbrier's right there with them. 3 points.
Right.
I'll say 3.
Let me
Maumelle.
Let me say, Sydney P says go Scrappers, by the way. We just saw that
Nice.
comment. So appreciate you could comment, share it out.
They're scrappy.
Let everybody know you're watching right here on the Arkansas Sports Network. Hit that notification bell. Subscribe to us. We'll do all that tonight as well.
You want to talk a little Camden Fairview Harding
Yes,
Academy?
let's do that. And that one is an interesting one because I
it
do
is.
believe that there's an outside shot that the winner of that ball game moves all the way to Little Rock to play in the championship. I think Robinson's going to have something to say about that. I think that game right there, you're probably setting up a possible either Robinson or Lakeside semifinal. So I think your 2 teams there, Robinson and Lakeside,
Yeah.
Harding Academy and Camden Fairview, they happen to be playing each other right now. Harding Academy is a team that I think was overlooked after losing those first 2 games early. They played 2 really good 6A teams.
yeah.
They weren't used to playing that size of school.
Right. Marion and
Harding Academy came out of 4A. They've played 5A teams, but they haven't played on that level. So they lose those 2 games. Everybody says, they're not that great. Valley View beats them. They're not that great. Now all they've done is won every game since, and they've really won them decisively. And Owen Miller's getting going, and the offensive line's playing better. But, boy, Camden Fairview is a handful tonight.
I was able to interview their coach in the summer for Hometown Sports, and just talking about the different weapons they had, and the young wide receiver slot guy they moved to running back at the end of last year. He had like 500 yards in like 2 games against Parkview. Not against Parkview, but like
Right.
he had 100 against Parkview and like 96 the second time. And, nobody did that against Parkview last year. So just big-time athletes there. They had a great game against Parkview again this year. I really like them, even though I'm a big fan of what they do at Harding Academy and Owen Miller, and he's a class act. We were able to give him our D3 Auto Sales MVP last year, and great family. Not related, even though it's the same last name, but but anyways, I'm gonna go with Camden Fairview in that one, and that's, I mean, it could go the other way though, but I really like Camden. I think they've got the athletes, and I think they've just going against Parkview.
Yeah.
It's sharpened them up now that that's the only team that's going to knock them out of this thing, in my
Right.
opinion.
It's unfortunate for Hardin. What'd you start out with? Marion, Benton, Valley View.
Right.
And now to start the playoffs, here comes Camden. So I'll take
right.
Fairview in that one. Hardin could get them there at home, though, but I'll take Fairview. I think this will be too much.
Oh, absolutely. That home crowd, that's going to be a big deal.
Right.
Deal. That's a tough game, though, in the first round of the playoffs. Lakeside, Nettleton, I feel like Lakeside is a team that's really good this year. Nettleton is playing good football right now, though. And then Robinson and Valonia. All right, let's pick our 5A picks right now. I think Parkview is the team in 5A right now that until you knock them off, you're crazy not to pick them. So I'm going to go with Parkview, and I'm going to go with Robinson to play for the state championship. I like Parkview in that ball game, but I think Parkview is touchable this year where they have been untouchable over the last 2.
Right, exactly. I totally agree, and I personally think we'll find out if Robinson and Camden Fairview, if Fairview gets past Harding the Knot, who wins that game. But I think Fairview's the only team that has a chance to knock off Parkview in 5A. So I'm going those two, and Parkview still getting it done.
I agree. It's either going to be Fairview or Robinson on that other side, and Parkview's a lock on that other side.
All right, so let's move on to 6A real quick. Doing this all by the wonderful technology of your phone. I'm sitting here watching us on YouTube, trying to track comments and looking at brackets all at the same time, and trying to pay attention to the camera while I'm doing it. Right. 6A playoffs up there on the board right now. You've got Greenwood and Benton. Okay, those 2 teams right now. I don't know of anybody that can knock those 2 off, but in this round of the playoffs, you've got some interesting ones. El Dorado and Russellville, that's an interesting one. Mountain Home and Sheridan, maybe not quite as interesting, but just because of who's involved, it's interesting. And then you got Lake Hamilton and Jonesboro. Really, in 6A, I don't think you got a whole lot to talk about until next week.
Right.
But I like, in this game, El Dorado and Russellville, that's probably your best game in 6A. And I really like El Dorado in this one because of the distance that Russellville has to travel. Russellville doesn't have anybody that sticks out this year. They're kind of a no-name type of team. They have kind of hung their hat on it. And honestly, they have overachieved a little bit from what I think everybody's expectations were for them at 5-5 this year. If you wanted to go talent for talent, I think last year's team might have been better. But this year's team won more games, got themselves into the playoffs, playing as a 5 seed, playing El Dorado. But that trip to El Dorado's tough, Alan.
Right.
It's really tough to go down there. It's a long way from Russellville to El Dorado. I like El Dorado in that one.
Yeah, me too. Wait, El Dorado, they score 90 points last week, so I mean they're coming in on a high. So, yeah, it's good. I'll take El Dorado in that one.
El Dorado put 31 up on Benton earlier this year. Of course, that's the only flaw in Benton's game at all is sometimes if you're really good, you have a chance to score a few points, but they're going to put 50 on you probably, so you better. But I think El Dorado's going to be too much for Russellville. I'd say something like 35-17.
So in the 6A, I think it's pretty unanimous when we say this. Greenwood and Benton going to play for the state championship.
Yes.
Lake Hamilton is the only one that could throw a wrench in there, but I think Benton's going to get past them. And I think Lake Hamilton has the potential to upset somebody with some turnovers like a Benton, but I think Benton's just too strong.
Let me throw this at you. Shiloh Christian. Shiloh Christian's lost 3 games this year, but they lost to 2 really good teams in the non-conference play. And then Lake Hamilton went and upset them in conference play. And Shiloh has been a very good team this year.
Yes.
I mean,
they are.
The really good team. The team out of Oklahoma they lost to was unreal. Very good team. So Shiloh over there is hanging out saying, you know what, overlook us if you'd like. I would say that Shiloh could give Benton a game in the semifinals. That'll be an interesting one there.
I agree with that. And don't forget Mountain Home's pretty solid too.
Yeah.
They can upset some people. I think they're going to take care of business with Sheridan. Then they got to sit there and play Catholic after that bye. I think they'll get past that. And but unfortunately for them, they're going to run into
the Greenwood machine. Yeah.
So that's going to end it.
All right. So there you have it right there. That's what Duran thinks. That's going to end it. I agree. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, it's kind of like I was asked yesterday on the show, pick the Arkansas-Texas game. And I'm like, guys, I mean, come on. I'd love to sit here and say the Razorbacks are going to win that ball game, but I can't in my right mind say that. And so anybody would say that game is going to be a tough one. So anyway, Greenwood-Benton, it should be a really good state championship ball game. Let's move on to 7A real quick. Aaron over there producing for us. And 7A, we have had Conway as our number 1 team all year long. Grayson Wilson is out. We don't want to get too much into that. He's been out for about 4 to 5 weeks now. And, one of the things that I would say about that, I don't know where Grayson's at. I don't know what his situation is. Here's what I know. is that when Conway had Grayson at quarterback, they beat Bentonville 55-21.
Right.
Bentonville's lost 3 games. They hadn't lost any games in conference. They smacked Fayetteville this year. So I say that to say that Conway missing Grayson Wilson, talking about a Razorback D1
Right.
commitment,
Right.
that's a
big.
tough blow there. And really, could it have been the difference in that ball game last week? I think it would have been a better ball game for
Right.
sure. But Bryant right now comes in as the beast of the Central and really the beast of 7A. They avenged their loss to Parkview this year, Alan.
Yes, sir.
Last year Parkview knocked them off. Everybody was shocked by that game.
We weren't, but
Right.
most people
I mean,
were.
you're
We've
right.
done a lot of Parkview, and
Right.
we knew,
You're right.
We knew we had them as them or Greenwood as a top team in the state. For a couple
Absolutely.
years.
Last year you could have definitely. Between Fayetteville, Greenwood, Parkview, who was the best team in the state? I don't know.
Man.
That was a real trio there. This year, I think really Greenwood.
Mm-hmm.
You could throw Benton in there if Benton's able to knock them off, and Bryant's the team right now. Right now they're the beast of Arkansas because of their
Right.
win over Conway. In this one, Springdale Cabot tonight is an interesting one. Springdale has played better football this year, 7-3 on the year, and it's they're a team right now that's playing, their best ball since 2005.
Yeah, Cabot's had some games this year where they got kind of blown out. He's kind of like, wow, you didn't see that one coming. They're still a solid team, but I like Springdale in that game personally by about 10.
Springdale, I do like Springdale in that one. That one could go either way, though. Pulaski
sir.
Academy probably going to take care of Harbor.
Yes, sir.
Rogers going to take care of Southwest tonight. Little
Yes,
Rock
sir.
Christian and West. Those 2 teams right there battling it out. To me, that's a tough one because West,
Right.
3-7 on the year. They played 4 state championship teams this year on their schedule. 4. And so,
Man.
the only game that they dropped, a little bit of a head scratcher, not too much because they're playing well, is Springdale. That was a great ball game there. I think it was a 4-point game, 28-24. I'm pretty sure is what that game was. Little Rock Christian's a pretty good team. They got beat up pretty good last week. 7A's been a little bit tougher on them this year, but I really think that they have got a chance to move on tonight
Right.
and play against Bentonville next week.
Right, I agree. I'm going Little Rock Christian and Bentonville. Of course, they got the bye. Alan, you thinking the same thing?
Yeah, I got Bentonville. I think the battle testing this, if they can make it to Little Rock, could have been the fact they've been battle tested the way they have. Could they help them maybe beat a Bryant?
So you got Bryant, Bentonville. You
Yes,
got
sir.
Are we going overall right now?
Yeah, let's go.
I want
overall.
to talk about Rogers.
Okay.
No
Okay.
one's talked about him, and I really like Rogers this year. Great coach, great program, and if Grayson Wilson's not playing for Conway, I think Rogers
point.
has a very good chance of taking down Bentonville in the semis and facing Bryant for the championship. But I've got Bryant winning it all.
Some really good matchups next week. The 7A, possibly Bryant, Springdale, Cabot, whoever wins that one. Fayetteville and Pulaski Academy. That would be a fun one to be at.
Yeah, you can't ever count out Pulaski Academy.
Right. Rogers and Conway. That would be an interesting one. And then you've got Bentonville and the winner of Little Rock Christian and West. Bentonville West. That's a pretty
Yes.
big rivalry
Oh,
there.
sir.
Very
I mean,
much.
they
You
don't even.
It's Bentonville and West. They
That's
don't even
it.
like being called Bentonville
That's
West.
right. I'm going with Conway Bryant again. Again, if you get Grayson Wilson back, what happens
If you
there?
get Grayson Wilson, I got them
Yeah.
instead of Rogers there.
So interesting, could be an interesting matchup there. Well, guys, we just wanted to give you something here. It's been a crazy week. I'll just be honest with you. It's been nuts, but we are here tonight for this one. Make sure you tune in tonight. We will have Perryville. We'll have Atkins. This was a 1-point ball game earlier this year. This is a rivalry game. We've already got people coming into the stands right now. What time is it? 5:43. You got hour and 15 minutes. And anyway, it should be a fun playoff season. And it is a season all in itself. Consider this. 4A and 3A have basically half a season to play still because they have 5. You have to win 5
Right.
games if you don't get that bye.
They're going to be playing into December this year.
Yeah, middle of December. So I mean, it's a season
Started a
all
week
in
later,
itself.
too, so.
Anyway, so make sure you tune in tonight for this Atkins Perryville ball game. We'll only be able to go on YouTube because we have a Facebook block. We'll bring the link over to Facebook, and we'll get you going here tonight. So Alan and Duran, I'm Brad, and then Carson. has moved on. He's going to Conway Christian tonight for that ball game. It's going to be a great night of high school football right here on the Arkansas Sports Network. Don't miss it.
Absolutely.